Hello, I'm Chris Richmond, and today I'm nipping over the border into Suffolk in search of sun, sea and cinema. Today I'm in Southwold, a genteel seaside town famous for its lighthouse, beach huts and brewery, as well as its pier, which boasts a rather unusual amusement arcade featuring games like Whack-a-Banker and Mobility Masterclass. But hidden away from the tourist hotspots of the town is another rather quirky attraction, which is right up my street. Tucked away on Black Mill Road, the Southwold Electric Picture Palace may seem, at first glance, as if it's been here for decades. But just 23 years ago, this former cart shed underwent a complete transformation to become the much-loved community picture house you see today. Inside, its glamorous regal red auditorium, complete with organ, faithfully recreates the atmosphere of the golden age of cinema. The whole concept was the brainchild of local architect John Bennett, who tells me more about this amazing building. Right, John, thank you very much for letting me come and do this.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
So, here we are in an old cart shed that you have converted into this wonderful tribute to the golden age of cinema.
Well, that was the idea. We didn't sort of intend to run a cinema when we started, but it's just the way things worked out, really. We were raising money in a PTA for the little prep school over the road at the time, and we had the idea of having a race night where you show little films of horse racing. And it's a great fundraiser. And you select a film at random and everyone gets terribly excited and you make a lot of money. Anyway, one of the other parents said, I've got an old 16mm projector in the hotel, we don't use it anymore much. So you can have this projector. So he gave us this 16mm projector, which two of us kind of fell in love with after we'd made the race night, which was successful. And we were saying, well, how can we keep playing with this? And we thought, we could set up a little film society in the town, see if anybody came, and that's how it all sort of started, really. And one thing led to another, and
23 years later,
23 years later, we're still doing it. Yes. And it's been a lot of fun. We've probably got about 500 or 600 members at any one time. They come from all over Suffolk and indeed Norfolk. People come quite a long distance to see films here.
So going back to the very beginning, how long did it take to turn a cart shed into this faithful recreation of what is a pre-Art Deco cinema?
Yes, pre-Art Deco. We decided to do it in Edwardian style, really, because that was how the early cinemas were originally. They just used existing buildings. What happened was that there'd been a lot of fires because film was very inflammable and people were just doing it in ordinary buildings and tents and things, and there'd been some bad accidents, and the government's response in its usual way was to put legislation in place to make it safer. And I think it was 1910, the Cinematographic Act came in, which said that you had to have an auditorium completely separate from the projection box. So it led to a proliferation of cinema building all over the country. The first of which was just up the road in Great Yarmouth, called the Gem. I think the first one built. And Southwold got a picture palace in 1912, which was quite early on, really.
What kind of films do you show, and what can the visitors experience here?
Well, I think the idea right from the beginning was to try and create the atmosphere of English cinema going in the 40s, 50s and 60s. And it occurred to us that it was all the incidentals that were just as important as the films. Like you have a commissionaire outside, you have usherettes, you have controversially an organ that comes up in. It was controversial for us because it was quite a difficult thing to do, but we decided we had to have an organ that appeared. To get the organist in and out unseen was important, so we dug a tunnel right underneath here where the organist can come along and get in and out without anybody knowing it's going to happen, which was important to us. So that's what we try to do, and the films we try to be very sparing about Hollywood. We try and show English and British films and things that we think are good films, basically. But we'll show anything that we think the audience will come and see.
And then, of course, there's the famous local east of Ipswich film with Michael Palin, who didn't he open this place? Or
Michael
has been
Palin,
back since?
yeah, bless him, he had connections with Southwold. He'd met his wife on the beach here in 1960 or thereabouts. And it was very kind of him to come and open. I've got a card that he signed saying, "I hope your organ continues to rise."
Right, so can we go and have a look round?
Yeah, by all means, yes.
On entering the cinema, you're first greeted by a charming little foyer with a well-stocked bar, an adjacent seating area come exhibition space. It's compact, but the attention to detail is superb, with bespoke handmade decor and the walls crammed with memorabilia. First, John takes me upstairs to the Circle, which offers a fine view over the auditorium. Right, so this is the Circle, which is hidden up in what you say was a former hayloft.
It was, yeah. The cost of it was donated by one man on behalf of his father. His father always went to the cinema but could only ever afford the stalls, so he donated the Circle on behalf of his father, who could never sit up there. So, well, we got 20 seats up here, which I was surprised we got, but we managed to do it.
And not just that, but you've also got the royal box as well, which you put in.
Yeah, it was a toilet originally, but when we did the works, we turned it into the royal box. And it's not bad, provided you don't get a giant sitting in front of you. You can never control people sitting in front of you in a cinema.
I guess that's almost part of the experience, wherever you go.
Yes. Well, we've also got air conditioning, we mainly for cooling. It gets quite hot up here, so we've got air conditioning in the auditorium, both up here and downstairs. And we do use it to heat occasionally, but it's not a lot of need to do that really.
No, unlike most of the old cinemas with the high ceilings that were a nightmare to heat.
And they were full of smoke. I mean, that was the major. People used to smoke in cinemas. Really, right through the 50s. It wasn't until the 60s that they started putting a stop to it. What used to happen is they used to get this sort of nicotine film on the screens and stuff, and there were firms that used to go around to cinemas cleaning the screens and other things. But luckily we don't have that anymore.
What is your seating capacity here?
Well, it's 70 altogether. We can do 48 downstairs and 22 up here, including 2 in the box, which is, it's most of the time it's fine for this little town, and it's, occasionally we think, it'd be nice if we had another 20 seats, but if the film's popular, we'll put it on again in the next season or something.
What kind of projection equipment do we have here now?
It's all a bit digital, I'm afraid. It's we have a laser projector, and we're very pleased with it. We get a much better image, and the sound, we've got Dolby sound, and we concealed all the technology and speakers that it's part of the architecture really, part of the design. We didn't want little black boxes everywhere. So.
But there is something a bit more old school that indeed has a connection to you. If we look over here.
Yes, it's a 9.5mm pasoscope projector, which my father used to show Mickey Mouse films when I was about 7 years old, I guess.
John takes me inside the projection box.
We've rather modernised all this. We had some very ancient stuff we made before, but in order to get access properly to everything, we put proper racking system in now, so it's not quite as old-fashioned looking as it was. We've got 3 Blu-ray players, and we've got an amplifier, we've got a sound system, we've got a sort of matrix thing which enables us to buzz stuff around in different ways, and we've got a little hatch that enables you to block out the film from the auditorium.
I should imagine it must get quite hot up here.
It does get quite hot. It's got its own little air conditioning unit in here, because the projector, when it's on, knocks out an awful lot of heat. But we're very pleased it's been a good projector. And
do you have a resident projectionist?
Well, we've got 2 or 3 people who do it, and if they're really pushed, then I might. But,
yeah, also I see you've got some lighting as well.
Yeah, we've got some lighting. We've got different programs for the house lights, and we could operate the tabs and the masking from here.
perhaps the most remarkable feature of this fine little cinema is the organ, which, in true traditional fashion, rises out of a pit beneath the stage during the interval.
Right, so tell us about the organ. Obviously this isn't original Wurlitzer with a pipe chamber. You probably couldn't do that in a building this size.
We need a pipe chamber the same size as this auditorium, probably, if we had a real Wurlitzer. We tried to make it look like a Wurlitzer organ. We had an old, I think it was a Technics organ in there originally, which we just boxed in with all this stuff to make it look a little bit more authentic. But now we've got a computer-generated organ with a custom-built triple manual keyboard and full pedal board, and we could make it sound like any organ in the world that's programmed into the software. So we've got it programmed for Wurlitzer, but we could, in theory, have the pipe organ in Notre Dame, really.
The organ is played by a variety of resident organists, including Tom Horton, who joins me at the console.
Right, Tom, you're a fellow YouTuber like myself, and you're inspiring the next generation of theatre organists.
Or putting them off, depending on which way you come at it.
Where did your organ playing begin, really?
Start a long time ago. I was first taught to play actually by my grandmother. Grandma and granddad, or my maternal grandparents, they played the organ as a hobby in the sort of 70s, and I first got into playing early in the 90s, so I've been playing sort of about 30 years now or so, and played my first sort of theatre organ, a real Wurlitzer, when I was about 12 or 13, which is an organ, probably you know, the Cotton Music Museum Wurlitzer. Yes. And had a little play on that one Sunday, and so that's how I got into playing certainly theatre organs.
So how did you get involved in playing this at the Electric Picture Palace?
Well, I actually first came here when they were first building the place, and my grandparents were gifted a great big Yamaha organ from the 70s, and of course they already had an organ, so they popped into here and they were literally putting the woodwork on the kiosk outside, so it was all unfinished then. And but the organ was too big for this case, which had already been built. And John said, "Well, it's very kind of you. We've already got an organ that's been donated to us." And so the first time I actually came here properly was actually 2006. So next year is going to be my 20th anniversary of being on the Organist team here. So that's when I first came here to see Singing in the Rain. And it was a private party that I was with, and the organist wasn't here that night. And so they all said, "Oh, we've got a guy in our party who can play the organ." And so I came up on this very ancient Yamaha they'd got, and afterwards John said, "Oh," he said, "that was great." He said, "That's the way that should be played." And I said, "Well, here's my card," and here I am, still on trial 19 years later. So lots of fun though. It's really great to play here, it really is.
It turns out that Tom was, excuse the pun, instrumental in constructing the latest version of the organ in 2014.
So how did you recreate this wonderful digital tribute to a Wurlitzer here?
Well, the problem is we don't have much space in our box. In fact, it's about 1 metre deep by just over 1 metre wide. So we had to try and find an instrument that was the right proportions. And it turned out there wasn't really anything ready-made that would fit. So we decided to go with a Hauptwerk-based virtual organ. And we've got a 3-manual keyboard stack that was made for us with pistons. We haven't got room for stops, and that might be something we might add in the future. We've got a Viscount pedal board. We've got a computer, a Windows computer, which has the virtual organ pack on. And the organ has its own independent speaker system, which includes a very nice 15-inch subwoofer, so we really get those big rumbling bass notes. And it all fits together very nice. It's very snug. We have to have certain sized organists because they either have to fit down the tunnel. We've had a very small organist. We had a guy once who was, I think he was 6'9", and he could get down the tunnel, but he couldn't sit at the organ because he was all over the place. So, but yeah, it's great fun, and when it comes out the floor, it allows people to see a representation, because we have no backstage here, so we haven't got any room for a real theatre organ, which we'd love to have. But it's a great representation of the experience that people would have had if they went there 100 years ago and heard one of these mighty organs coming out in the interval.
So how do you manage to squeeze down the tunnel and creep into the organ so quietly without anyone noticing?
Well, when they built the cinema, there was a problem, because obviously the organ always comes up in the interval. So there's about 50 minutes to an hour of film. So of course we couldn't have the organist hanging around, and also he or she would have to come through the auditorium. So I remember John telling this wonderful story how they made the decision to build the organist tunnel, and they took tons and tons of material out. But behind the kiosk there's a little hole with a ladder, and we have to go down there very carefully. We go down the tunnel and we climb into the organ, so we're then ready normally for a 8:15 interval, and we're all ready to go. And at the time that the organist is ready, we have a few moments silence, and it's brilliant when you're sitting there, because the film will be something like Clark Gable going, well, I don't think I can, but I love you. And the audience goes, oh, what's going to happen? And then there's a few seconds silence before my buzzer goes, because we have to, A, let the curtains open, and also let the screen come up, because as you can see here, there's obviously quite a bit of stage that gets lifted up when the organ comes up. So it's all very well worked out, and there's a certain amount of timing involved, keeping your head out the way, otherwise you get a haircut every time you play. But it's good fun though, it really is.
It wouldn't be right to show you the cinema without showing you the organ tunnel, and it's a little bit tight.
So the organist has to duck through this tunnel underneath the unsuspecting audience, and then up these steps, and then through into the organ without being seen. A bit like me right now.
To experience the Electric Picture Palace for yourself, and I thoroughly recommend you do, you must become a member of the Southwold Film Society, with a choice of seasonal, annual and life memberships available.
So how can people find out more about this cinema, and how do you become a member?
Well, it's on the Southwold Cinema website, and you can book tickets through box office at southwoldcinema.co.uk, and they'll tell you how to join and tell you how to buy tickets and send you a link so you can pay online. Some films sell out relatively quickly, so it's best when you get the leaflet or know what's on to get in touch with us, and we're very good at getting anybody in who wants to come.
I think it's great how John and his team are keeping alive the traditions of a night at the pictures. Requoting the words of Michael Palin, I do hope the organ, indeed, continues to rise. Thanks for watching. Now for the obligatory closing paragraph. If you enjoy my quirky, if slightly self-indulgent adventures, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.